My name is Irma. The sun is setting over the expanse of my lavender fields, and I'm sitting on my porch, sipping a cup of tea. A local magazine just featured my land, the lavender, the murals, the workshops. They titled the piece, From Discarded to Rooted, a woman who built backward and bloomed anyway. It felt like the final punctuation in a story I never thought I'd get to write. But it wasn't always this way. Years ago, I was part of the Hernandez family, a well-known coffee-growing family in the region. My parents, Mr. and Mrs. Hernandez, were strict and traditional. They believed in giving their eldest son, Carlos, all the attention and resources to ensure the family coffee business thrived. Carlos was their golden child, while I was the one who always seemed to be in the shadows. I grew up in a large hacienda, spending my days helping in the house, cleaning the old wooden floors, and assisting with the cooking. Whenever I had free time, I would help in the coffee fields, but my efforts were never recognized. One evening, as I was cleaning the kitchen after a long day, my mother walked in. She had a cold look in her eyes and said, "You're nothing but a disappointment. You're holding us back. We can't keep you here." My father, standing beside her, just looked down and slid the keys to the new storage shed across the table to Carlos. It was a clear message: he was the heir, and I was just an excess burden. I didn't argue. I didn't cry in front of them. I just packed a small suitcase with the few things I had and left that night. For the next 2 years, I cut off all contact with them. I moved to a small town far away and used my meager savings to buy a small plot of land on the outskirts. I worked 2 jobs, one at a local flower shop and another at a diner. Every insult they ever threw at me, every look of disappointment, I channeled into building my own world. I started by planting a small lavender garden. Then, I began building a greenhouse with the help of some kind-hearted neighbors. I worked on it bit by bit, using recycled materials and my own determination. I designed the layout of my land, creating a beautiful entrance with a stone gate and manicured trees. I installed a new roof with solar panels and a custom glass entryway. It was a labor of love, and I was creating something from nothing. 2 years later, my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize, but I knew the voice immediately. It was Carlos. He was out of breath, shouting, "Dad, you have to see this. She built a whole life without us." I just listened in silence. I knew what was coming next. A couple of days later, I saw my father's car slowly creeping past my fence. He didn't stop, he just stared. I stood on my porch, holding my tea, not showing any emotion. It felt like all the pent-up angst and waiting inside me finally let out a sigh of relief. That night, I got an email from my mother. The subject line read, "We should talk." I opened the email. It said, "Irma, we didn't mean for things to turn out this way. Carlos needed a head start, and we thought you were doing fine on your own. Let's reconnect. Maybe we can visit your place sometime." There was no apology, just an attempt to rewrite history. I forwarded the email to myself with the subject, "When they pretend they didn't push you." I then went into town and bought paint samples. I decided to paint a mural on the side wall facing the road. It was a statement. The mural showed a young girl planting flowers while faceless figures were throwing rocks at her from behind. Above it, in gold letters, were the words "watered by rejection. Rooted in self." 3 weeks later, they showed up unannounced. I was in the lavender field, tending to the plants, when I heard the car door slam. My father stepped out first, followed by my mother in high-heeled shoes that were clearly not made for the gravel path. She wobbled up to the porch as if she owned the place. My mother looked around in disbelief. "You did all this by yourself?" she asked, as if I had stolen it from someone else. I stood up, my gloves dirty from the soil, and said nothing. My father finally spoke, "You should have told us you were doing so well." I tilted my head and replied, "You told me I was a burden. I thought my silence would be a relief to you." My mother flinched, not from guilt but from hearing her own words thrown back at her. "We were under a lot of stress," she muttered. "Carlos was having a hard time. We didn't think you'd thrive." I simply said, "Survive." She didn't respond. I pointed to the mural and they stared at it, speechless. "I don't care if you like it," I said. "I didn't build this for your approval." They left without stepping inside, just two shrinking figures in my rear-view mirror, while the lavender in the fields around me danced in the breeze. The days turned into weeks, and then one day, I received a message from Carlos. It was a photo of the family coffee business. The storefront was closed, the windows boarded up, and a for-lease sign was crooked in the dirt. The caption read, "Hope your little garden is worth more than our family legacy." I remembered all the hours I had spent working in that business for free, taking inventory, cleaning up after closing time. Carlos had mismanaged it, hiring his friends and ignoring the financial records. He hadn't built the business, so he didn't know how to keep it going. I printed the photo and taped it behind my front door, not out of spite but as a reminder. The next day, I opened an envelope that had been sitting on my desk for months. It was the deed to my land. It was fully paid off, no loans, no co-signers. Just me. I signed it, stamped the official record, and filed it with the county office. I was the owner, not just of the land but also of my own story. However, they didn't leave me alone. My mother sent another email, this time with a photo of her and Carlos at a social event. They were dressed elegantly, and the caption read, "Still standing. Family always finds its way." I stared at the words for a long time. Standing and growing are two very different things. I decided to post a photo of my fully built greenhouse on social media. In the photo, my hands were covered in soil, and I added a caption that said, "Some of us weren't given anything. So we built everything we needed, quietly and on our own." The response was overwhelming. I received messages from people I hadn't spoken to in years, saying things like, "I needed to see this today," and "You're not just growing, you're thriving." One evening, my neighbor brought me fresh bread. She looked at the mural and asked, "What inspired this?" I thought for a moment and replied, "Family. And what grows after the storm." She smiled, and I knew she understood. As fall came, I would sit on my porch most evenings, enjoying the peace. Then, I received a handwritten letter from my father. It said, "Irma, I drove past your place last week. You probably didn't see me. Your land looks beautiful. You've done more with that small piece of land than I did with the whole coffee business. I still don't know how to make up for how we hurt you, but I see now that we were wrong. I hope you're happy. Dad." I didn't cry. I didn't write back. I just folded the letter and put it in the same folder as my land deed. It was a record, proof that people can change their words, even if their actions remain the same. Winter brought a silence that I no longer feared. It was the silence I had chosen. The letter from my father was the last communication I ever received from them. I didn't need their follow-ups, their visits, or their attempts at family reconciliation. I continued to grow. I expanded the greenhouse and started hosting weekend workshops for women in the area. These were women like me, who had been told to be quiet and accept their lot in life. One afternoon, after a workshop, a woman stayed behind. She asked softly, "Did you build this place because of your family?" I smiled, an honest smile. "No," I said. "I built it because of me. They were just the reason I had to start from scratch." Spring came, and my lavender fields were more vibrant than ever. Bees buzzed around the flowers, and the gentle wind made the plants sway. I received one final notification in the mail. The family home that had been used as collateral for Carlos's business loan was gone. The so-called family legacy had turned into debt. I felt no pity, no vindication. It was like watching the end of a movie I had left a long time ago. And then, that little girl from the neighborhood brought me her drawing. Stick figures in front of a purple field, and one of them looked like me. Her message below the drawing read, "I want to grow up just like you, the kind of lady who makes things stay alive." I hung it beside the mural, knowing that the real legacy is not what you inherit but what you create, protect, and grow on your own terms.